Right now, Manitoba and Saskatchewan are at the forefront of wildfire season here in Canada. In Manitoba, more than 20 fires are burning. A province-wide state of emergency has been declared. In northern Saskatchewan, evacuations have been ordered for more than 10 communities. And for more on the current situation in the prairies, as well as wildfires burning in eastern Canada, we're joined by Ken McMullen, president of the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs. He's also fire chief of Red Deer, Alberta. Hi there.
Good afternoon.
So we have been talking on the show about thousands of people under evacuation orders, dozens of fires burning out of control. What's the latest on the Manitoba wildfires?
Well, certainly, and if you allow me to just start with our thoughts and prayers with all evacuees impacted by the wildfires in Alberta and Manitoba, just to name two that are most significantly impacted at the moment. We have approximately 164 fires active across the country, and to put that into somewhat of perspective, 26 of those are within the last 24 hours. So these are extremely volatile times, and we are just preparing for more of the same in the coming days and weeks.
When you look at those fires in particular, what are you watching? What do you see already happening?
Well, what I can tell you is that there is no province or territory at the moment that does not have some sort of fire within their community, with the exception of Prince Edward Island. We are certainly seeing significant fire growth within the province of British Columbia. Alberta is seeing quite a few growths, including an evacuation order put out a few hours ago. And as you said at the top of the hour, Manitoba is certainly being impacted with some significant risks to population and structures. And that's what we're foreshadowing, is some more of this in our coming days, just based on the weather forecasts.
And I mean, I think a lot of people are caught off guard by the fact that it's only May at this point to be having that kind of scope in the wildfires. How surprised were you at the level of destruction and concern at this point in the season?
Well, I think you have to put into perspective that this is what we do every day as fire chiefs. We watch and monitor this, and unlike some, we do remember in January what happened the previous July, and I mean that somewhat tongue in cheek, but it often seems as though our politicians, our community members, as a generality, listen to our fire chiefs and our recommendations when we're dealing with fires, and we get good uptake when we're having meetings with elected officials in July and August, because we can simply say it is happening. It's not an if or a maybe. It's happening. And then what happens in September through January and February is we seem to fall off the priority list. And in the debate, if anybody of your listeners watched, the issues of wildfires ranked number 12 on priorities of Canadians. If you did that poll today, I'm assuring you that they would rate much higher than 12th as a priority as this Canadian government. So as the fire chiefs, we need to make this top of mind every day, and part of our advocacy continues to be for the creation of a national fire administration, which would ensure that this is top of mind to all politicians every day, because there are many, many items beyond wildfire that are important to Canadian safety.
Why does that happen then? Why does it fall? Because obviously if the infrastructure is not being maintained, if the budget is not being aligned, if it's not top of mind during the pre-fire, it's sometimes in many cases too late. Why does this occur?
Yeah, I would just profess that it's somewhat human nature. We forget about things. We as human population, and not to get too far down a path here, but think of the things that we learned from COVID. And we said to ourselves, well, we'll never go back to the old way of doing things. And we probably have walked away from that and probably got back to some bad habits, even though we think as a society we learned and should do different. Fire's no different. There's still a notion that it won't happen to me, or that only happens to others that aren't prepared for it. It's just false. It happens and can happen to everybody and anybody. And we as the fire sector need to remind people to do what they can to reduce the risks on their own properties and to best prepare in the event that they're in a community faced by a wildfire.
I mean, when it comes to those evacuations that you're seeing right now, and to expand that further to how these fires are being dealt with, is there an indication that lessons have been learned along the way when it comes to planning or preparations as well, based on the wildfires from past summers?
Yeah, I certainly give credit to our government. They've put some effort into programs like fire smarting and giving provinces and territories and municipalities opportunities to apply for fire smarting within their communities. And I know that some communities have taken us up on that. The principles of fire smarting is something that anybody, without a lot of money, if any money, can look at. If you go online and you Google fire smart principles, it's going to give you some really, really good advice of what you can do personally around your property that'll help reduce your risk of fire. They're going to tell you to remove combustibles from up and around your property. They're going to ask you to look for overhanging branches above your roofs and your eave trough lines. Those are some really helpful things that you can do on the outside. Some personal preparedness tips. You've heard us talk about having a 72-hour kit. Make sure you've got all of your important documents prepared. You have travel visas and passports with you in the event that you've been asked to evacuate. Now's the time to prepare. And quite honestly, from this moment until the end of the summer months or even into October, November, none of us can say that it won't happen to us. All of our provinces and territories are at risk for an event, whether that be a wildfire or another event that you might be asked to be evacuated. Prepare now. Have the conversations now so that you are best prepared when the time comes.
And what's your biggest concern looking forward now to the next few months? What are you most worried about as in terms of developments?
Well, again, it's how rapid these fires are going to grow and what is the strain on resources. There are 126,000 municipal firefighters in this country made up of career, composite, and volunteer firefighters. Over 80% of those are volunteer, men and women that this is not their full-time job. These are individuals that do what they can to protect their communities and all Canadians out of the goodness of their heart and for the betterment of their communities. Volunteer fire system in this country has worked until it doesn't. And what I mean by that is the typical volunteer firefighter up until wildfire season might do one call a week. They might do one call a month. And when they get on those calls, they're typically 25 minutes, maybe an hour. If they're involved in a structure fire, it might be a few hours or several hours in a day. When we ask our volunteers or any firefighters to get involved in a wildland firefight, we're talking days, weeks, and at times months. That system isn't sustainable. We can't ask our society to give up members of our community, run businesses, family members for months at a time, and yet that's what we continue to do. National Fire Administration will help streamline this, better coordination, so that we can use the resources most appropriately.
Ken McMullen, thanks for your time today.
It's always a pleasure to be with you, Alan, to you and your listeners. Please stay safe, and we will talk again soon.
That's Ken McMullen, president of the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs.